Wow, that was a loud good morning. Thank you. My name is Kathy Folser. I want to welcome you all to Unity in Naperville, whether you're joining us online or you're here in person. It is a glorious day. It is gorgeous. And it's always a blessing when we can gather together. And I just remind myself as I'm driving in, I just manage to leave behind all the circumstances, all the things that are going on out there in the world, all the things that are going on in there in our lives. Regardless, we come together, we gather in love, we gather in peace, and we remember who we really are. Beautiful, perfect, divine beings, expressing as each one of us. So it's wonderful to come together. Our minister is Reverend Kitty Benson. She is refreshed and renewed and bringing us powerful words of truth. We will hear her message in a moment, but as you know, we always have to start with music. And you will see that our Kim Char is gone this week, but we have our fabulous band, Highest Good. We have Kevin, Mark, and Mark. So please stand as you're able. If you're at home, dance around, do whatever you want, and join us as we open our hearts with song.
Good morning, everybody. Let's sing about our joy. Let the joy of the Lord rise among us. Let the joy of the Lord rise among us. Let the praises that we sing rise among us. Let it rise. Let the light of the Lord rise among us. Let the light of the Lord rise among us. Let the drip from within rise among us. Let it rise. Let the love in our hearts rise among us. Let the love in our hearts rise among us. Let it shine from within. Rise among us. Let it rise. Let the joy of the Lord rise among us. Let the joy of the Lord rise among us. Let the praises that we sing rise among us. Let it rise. Give yourselves a hand. Wow, that sounded great. And now we're going to sing about the love inside our hearts and our beautiful spirits. Spirit, we are one in the light. We are each other. We will walk hand in hand. We will walk with each other. We will walk hand in hand. And cause the world to know the love of God is in the land. And we'll know we are family by our love, by our love. And we'll know we are family by our love. We will work with each other. We will work side by side. We will work with each other. We will work side by side. We will guard each one's dignity and lift each one's pride. And we'll know we are family by our love, by our love. And we'll know we are family by our love. And we'll know we are family by our love. And we'll know we are family by our love.
That feels good. That feels good. Let's just take a moment to open our hearts. If you're in this room, open your heart until you can feel that love going out and touching the love of those around you in the room. Those watching online, just open your heart to those in your household and then in your neighborhood, in your country, and in your world. We all do this together until we feel that sense of oneness in our love. There is only one presence and power, and it is love. We thank you, Spirit, for the glory, the opportunity to be connected to truth, to light, to strength, and to wisdom, to be the light and the love in the world. We allow that presence of goodness to flow through, in, and as us, and we know we are family by our love. So it is. Amen. Will you help me speak our invocation? The words are up here on the screen. Together? There's only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, the all-loving goodness of God. Thank you. You may be seated.
Raising the veil between me and my God. No separation, no distance at all. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. I'm raising the veil between me and my God. No separation, no distance at all. God God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. I'm raising the veil. And I want to know you. Oh God, I'm raising the veil. I want to see you. Oh God, I'm raising the veil. I want to hear you. Oh God, I'm raising the veil. And I want to feel you. Oh God, I'm raising the veil. And I want to praise you. Oh God, I'm raising the veil. And I want to love you. Oh God, I'm raising the veil between me and my God. No separation, no distance at all. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. I'm raising the veil. God is right here in my heart. Oh, God is right here in my heart. Thank you, boys. God is right here in my heart. I'm raising the veil.
Beautiful. Thank you, guys. Can we give him some love? Thanks, Kevin. Love that. Perfect for today's message. Pretty much any message, really. That's kind of what we're here for, right? To keep raising the veil. It's an opportunity for us to realize that in truth there is no veil except our own thinking. That's where we get to do the work. And because there is a veil that's propagated by our thinking, today I'm referring to that as the elephant in the room. Have you bumped into one lately? Sometimes when we come in here, it seems like there's an elephant here that we're trying to get around or trying to pretend like doesn't exist, because we speak that there's only one presence and one power in the universe. It's good, it's love, it's God. And oh, by the way, wear a mask and protect yourself. Get a vaccine and protect yourself. And I chatted with you about that probably a couple weeks ago, about how that's possible. And I just want to remind you, especially if you're tuning in for the first time in this series, of masks or metaphysics. Okay, what was the answer to that? Yes. Good job. Gold star for you guys. But it's an opportunity to remember that, yes, we are spiritual beings. Actually, we would say that the Christ, the presence of God, call it what you will, source, creator, love, is dwelling within us, is really the reason for our existence. And at the same time, it's dwelling inside a physical body that has a physical brain, that has developed a physical ego, which becomes that veil in consciousness, and we forget that we are spiritual beings having that experience. And if we are asleep to that, then really, because this is a physical dimension that we live in, the physical body and mind dominate. So you're sitting here this morning or listening online, hopefully because you understand that there's some work to be done to wake up and remember that you're more than just a human being. So we're talking about how to move through, and we thought we were through it, right? We took the mask off, everybody was happy, hooray, now we're back doing this again. So I just feel like we need to understand how the spiritual principles can work at the same time that the human principles are working, and which one we can choose and how we can get there. Because the spirit is immune to sickness. It's not in its dimension. It doesn't have a definition in that spiritual dimension. God is perfect, whole, and complete, and God's wholeness is dwelling within us. So it's immune from COVID. It doesn't have anything to do with its creation. But the physical body, as we can see, has not been immune to it, but it has a way that we're going to practice rising above it. That's our journey, not just in sickness in this life, but when Jesus was teaching his disciples, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, he was trying to get us to remember that we have an option, that we don't have to live just in the third dimension world, but that we can actually rise up into the fourth dimension. So when we think about health, we typically associate health with the state of the body, but your health and the ability to have health or be healthy actually doesn't come from the body, it comes from the spirit. The body only understands and expresses health because the spirit has implanted this divine pattern into the physical body, meant to guide the cells of our body into their state of well-being and expression of health. They can't do it without the spirit, though. And so our job is to raise the veil and allow ourselves to remember the spirit is really the one presence and power in my life. It's only when we give it away, give that power away, through our fear or resistance or judgment, that we lose contact with that inherent blueprint, that instruction manual that's trying to guide the cells on a continual basis. And so I told you that this week we were going to take a look at what kinds of things get in the way of our ability to stay healthy, to stay connected with or in sync, in communication with the guidance of those spiritual patterns, wisdom, guidance that tells us how the body can be healthy. So one of my favorite writers about this topic is Esther Hicks, and one of the things that she said up here on the screen, I get a daily e-news from her. She said, if there's no source of illness, remember we talked about God is not and cannot be sick, so it did not source illness, then why are there so many sick people? It's because they have found lots of excuses to hold themselves in vibrational discord with wellness. They're not letting it in. And when they don't let it in, the absence of it looks like sickness. Now, I want you to take a breath there, because that can feel like a slap in the face to some of us, right? We don't remember intentionally calling sickness into our bodies or, how did she put it, in vibrational discord. We don't recognize that we're doing that. So we would say that this shouldn't have anything to do with us. I'm not in charge of the sickness. The sickness is out there. But let's take a look and just see what the discord is, because most of the time, if we're in discord, we don't realize it. And that, as I said, is when the physical body starts to vibrate at a lower energy. Have you ever felt your body feel like it's lowering in energy? Raise your hand if you've ever experienced that. So I'm not just making this up, right? This isn't woo-woo. This is literally what we can attest to on a regular basis. And the body is not the only part that can lower in energy. Also, our mind, our thoughts, and our feelings can lower in energy. And they have to learn how to speak the same language as our spirit. And the language is not words. What do you think the language is of spirit that we have to match? Energy. You guys are good. Think of it as a level of vibration. It's almost like I'm so grateful to our music team because that is a perfect way to raise your energy, body, mind, emotions, and spirit, is through music. And music really is just energy vibrating at different levels, right? So if we are lowering our energy, not just physically, but emotionally or mentally, that's where we lose our connection to the guidebook, to the spirit within us. And there's a few stumbling blocks that we tend to throw in front of ourselves to lower that energy. And one of those just has to do with the physical body itself. Sometimes, well, let's just talk about what our body needs, first of all. It needs sleep, it needs nourishment, it needs water, it needs activity. And I honestly would say that the body can't do that for itself. When you think about it, it can't make itself get up in the morning and go have a good breakfast. It can't make itself go to bed at night. Who does? What does? Consciousness. Our true self. So there's a you that is in charge of the physical body. And how many times do we tell ourselves, our body, or no one in particular, maybe we're doing it subconsciously, I don't have time to stop right now for a meal. Or I'm not in the mood to exercise, I'd rather watch TV. Or I've got other priorities to take care of today before I take care of the body. Or I'm actually mad at my body right now because it's not feeling well and it doesn't seem to be getting well. And until it gets well, I'm not going to treat it nicely. Well, then we've just got a nice vicious cycle that continues to perpetuate the illness. So we have the responsibility to take good care of the body. And we also do that, or we get in its way with our emotions. Now, you have had many obvious signs of emotions, not just because you're aware, but also because your body reacts. How many times have you felt sad and had tears actually come out of your eyes? So your emotion of sadness has generated something physical happening in the body. Same thing when you're worried about something and your heart starts getting a little off kilter, going into palpitations. You know, I lost my mom this past year, and I can tell you the grief, which is an emotion, had a huge effect on my body in the form of exhaustion, where it was hard to just move one foot in front of the other. And there's actually a study that's been done by Harvard University. The scientists there found that in healthy people, simply recalling an angry experience from their past caused a 6-hour dip in levels of the antibody immunoglobulin A, which is the cell's first line of defense against infection. Our immune system can dip, notice that, lower energy when we just think about a time that we were angry. Emotions have the ability to lower our vibration and separate us from our spirits. Communication. I mean, when you think about where spirit's at, it's in peace, it's in calm, it's in love, it's in harmony, it's in patience and kindness and generosity of spirit. If we can't hang out there, or at least hang out in neutral, something not negative, maybe even hope, unless we can get to that level or higher, it means that we've disconnected again from that instruction. So when we're not feeling well, when the body starts to put out symptoms, this is an opportunity for us to just check in and see, what have I been feeling lately? What kind of emotion have I been hanging out in lately? Have I been mad at somebody? Have I been worried about something that's coming up? I remember I think I actually sensed something about to happen in my life, and my whole inner ear system just went completely haywire for the first time in my life. And it turns out that almost everything in my life was about to change. So it's almost like my subconscious was sensing what's coming up. But there's this opportunity for us to keep checking in when we're not feeling well and see if we are working against ourselves with some of those negative emotions. I know that sometimes it's not just something that happened in the last couple of weeks. More often, major sickness happens in the body because we've had a chronic pattern of emotion going on in our lives. I think that this was something that Anita Moorjani made very clear. She was the one who wrote a book, Dying to Be Me, and she had a near-death experience. The body shut down because of cancer, and as she left the body in a spiritual form, she was able to look back over her life and see what brought her to that point. This was a woman who, as a child, she was Indian heritage, but her family expected her to follow their culture. But they lived in China. So she was surrounded by a Buddhist culture and was expected to fit in from that perspective. And they had her in a Catholic school and was expecting her, at least the school was expecting her to fit in with the Christian theme. She couldn't do it. She struggled to do it. She was constantly trying to please everyone, but never feeling like she was doing a good job. And she realized as a spirit that this feeling of, I don't fit in, I'm unworthy in their eyes, was creating an insecurity, not just in her mind or emotions, but in her entire body. And it wasn't until she was able to see that and then come back into the body and change her view of herself that her body began to heal. And I kind of think that we've had that same experience here with COVID. I'm sure there's a lot of emotions going on for people around there, but one of the dominant ones, I think, for us is resistance. Because not only are we, naturally resisting the illness itself, but also we're resisting, the masks and the vaccines and the closures of businesses and the loss of our income and the feeling that we have no control over our life. So we're pushing back against this. We're pushing back against each other in the choices that we see each other making. But again, Esther Hicks said this. She said, when doctors and scientists try to find cures for diseases without taking into consideration the vibrational relationship between physical being and source energy, they're looking for cures in all the wrong places. If the resistance that disallowed the well-being to begin with is not released, it will show up in the form of another and another disease. Dis-ease is the disallowance of well-being, which is always indicated pre-disease in the form of chronic negative emotion. Now, I don't think the resistance, at least in America, started with COVID. I think we've been resisting each other for quite a while. Have you felt that? Have you felt that split, that energy of separation amongst us? So is it really any surprise that we are now all facing an illness that's forcing separation, that's keeping us isolated from one another, that's polarizing us, and we're finding ourselves separated not only from people, but from our own well-being. So can you see how that might work? That when we're holding that energy emotionally, we create an outer experience for ourselves on a grand scale when the majority of us are involved in that emotionally. Does that make sense? Okay. So I think I mentioned a week or two ago that, and as Esther Hicks just said, we can't just cure it with a vaccine, because if we don't get a handle on this energy of separation between us, we're just plotting a course for ourselves to continue to create experiences that keep us separate, not only from each other, but from our good. So when we look at our emotions as potential stumbling blocks for health, don't think that this is about not showing them, stuffing them, putting them away somewhere, and trying to pretend like you don't have them. There's a book written by Marcy Shimoff called Love for No Reason, which I really recommend. And she tells a story about a woman named Sally who was rushed to the hospital in liver failure. No warning, but the doctor said, if we don't get a liver for you within 3 days, you're gone. And on the third day, she was saying goodbye to her family, and her health was draining from her body, and suddenly they found a donor. And when she awoke after the surgery, she remembers thinking how amazing it was that she had experienced love in her life, that not only had the universe orchestrated this donor, but she had a good doctor, and she was in a beautiful room where the view of the Golden Gate Bridge was right out her window. And yet, when the doctor came in, he said, you know, your liver is one of the worst that I've ever seen. He said, it looks like a cat had been chewing on it. And he'd never seen anything like that. He had no explanation for it. And that's when she realized she needed to do some work on herself and figure out what was going on in her life. So she started thinking about any patterns in her life, and she realized she was raised by 2 alcoholics who had no time for her. She had 2 much older siblings who had no time for her. Her life was trying to, get their love, get their attention, or at least please them. She was a people pleaser, and it wasn't working. But now that she saw what effect it had on her body, she realized, I'm going to start taking care of me. I'm going to start doing what I want to do, and put myself first in this case. Well, after about a year, her new liver, started to fail. And she wound up back on the donor list. And even the doctor said, if we get you a second liver, there's no guarantee that you're going to live through this. So, do we have music going on, Parker? Okay. Oh, sorry. Never mind, Parker. So, let me share what she said in the story. This is Sally's words. At home, I settled onto the couch with a pad of paper and a pen. I sat still and went deep within. I'd never done anything like this before, but I asked myself, here's the question, what do I believe? As the answers came to me, I wrote them down. I didn't judge or censor them. I was shocked by the many of the beliefs that I'd been carrying around without knowing it. There, in black and white, was the sentence, I believe there's a punishing God, and I'm being punished because I'm a terrible person. No wonder my attempts at self-love hadn't been successful. Trying to love yourself when you don't believe you deserve love is like pouring water into a sieve. Determined to root out this attitude, I went within again, mental scalpel in hand, to find out why I believed I was so bad. The answer was surprisingly simple. As a child, being me meant being punished. In our household, my parents had 0 tolerance for voicing dissatisfaction, crying, or expressing anger. Any strong feeling I had, especially anger, was completely repressed, usually before I was even aware I had the feeling. I was mired in guilt and shame and felt somehow responsible for everything that had gone wrong in my family. I had to learn how to forgive, love, and accept myself right here and now, or the inwardly directed self-rejection would continue to destroy my liver. I began to be kind to the little girl inside me. I treated her as if she were my own beloved child. I was gentle with myself, which included letting myself feel all my feelings, including anger. Instead of saying, you shouldn't feel that way or stop crying, don't be a baby, I was patient and understanding. To my surprise, doing this actually helped my feelings dissipate and resolve themselves. I was able to come back to an inner place of peace and acceptance more quickly and stay there more of the time. The day I'd sat down on the couch for my inner surgery, my bilirubin level, which is a component of red blood cells associated with liver function, she said that level had been sky high, which means there's something wrong. Over the next 9 months, it went all the way down to normal. The doctors couldn't explain it. They called it a miracle. I called it grace. There was 18 years ago, and I had never had to have the second transplant. Though I wouldn't wish my brushes with death on anyone, I'm grateful for the wake-up call. They taught me something I probably wouldn't have learned in any other way. Not only do we deserve to love ourselves, we literally can't live without it. Emotions generated for years affecting her body, and until she could learn to love herself again, she was destined to return to that pain and suffering. So those emotions don't just happen by themselves. Our emotions are results of the thoughts that we think. And our co-founder, Myrtle Fillmore, who had a wonderful healing experience from tuberculosis by recognizing who she really was as a spiritual being, she still fought with illness in her body. And it turns out that she discovered that there was a behavior in her that was generated by a belief in her that said, I must judge people and how well they are living their life on a spiritual basis. And with all that judgment of others, her body started to fall apart again. And as she started to monitor that inner judge of hers, she realized that every time she held a thought about someone else that said, you're not doing as well as you could be, she literally felt some kind of reaction in her body. So it was like thunder after lightning. She held a judgment. She could feel where it was expressing in the body, and she knew what the cause was. She said, I saw that I was directing the life of the Father in thinking thoughts and speaking words, and I became very watchful in what I thought and said. I did not let any worried or anxious thoughts into my mind, and I stopped speaking gossipy, frivolous, petulant, angry words. I let a little prayer go up every hour that Jesus Christ would be with me and help me to speak only kind, loving, true words. And as she got a hold of herself and did her regular work on that judging attitude, her body started to heal. You know, when she said, I let a little prayer that Jesus Christ be with me, if that doesn't work for you, one of my favorite changes in my consciousness is to say, subconscious mind, where all the trouble is, subconscious mind, only take instruction from my higher self. Say that as often as you can think of it. Subconscious mind, only take instruction from my higher self. Same thing as talking to the Christ in Jesus to be there and remind us of how we should be thinking and living. So our emotions have a strong influence on our health, and our thoughts have a strong influence on our emotions. And it's thoughts that are not based in truth but error, that says you're better than me, I'm better than you, there's not enough, I'm not enough. Those are the kind of thoughts that create this energy of emotion in us that brings us to a lower state of being. And something that John Payne wrote, he said, as you look at the world from the point of view of survival, now when you think survival, think anxiety, think trying to protect yourself. So point of view of survival, your body responds with tightness, vigilance, and chemicals that eventually tire the body. The fear and vigilance have become such a natural part of your day-to-day living that you accept the tension and your body's shallow breathing as normal. You're not even aware that you are afraid. Take a breath. So I would love for you to do some homework on a regular basis and just turn within and ask yourself, what kind of habits have I built up over time that are not serving me, but that I've become totally unaware of? Up here on the screen, we're going to pop up a whole bunch of different things that we might be doing in our life, like watching too much news or only hanging out with people who talk about what's not working in the world. You know, you might be the person who wants to fix everybody else's problems instead of focusing on yourself. You might be someone who just keeps pushing through your exhaustion no matter how heavy and tired you feel, or you toss and turn all the time at night, but you call that normal. I also notice for me, every once in a while, I take these big sighs. They just come out of nowhere, and I realize I think I've been holding my breath, which means I'm feeling tense for some reason, which means I've got some kind of harbored thought or belief within me that thinks there's a reason to be tense. These are things that go on within us we don't even notice. We might actually be, if we could look back over our life experience, notice the kinds of chronic patterns that we see that, again, aren't serving us. We might struggle with staying in a relationship for any length of time. Or we only start a job long enough to decide, I don't like these people, and we're out of here. Maybe you're the person who you plan one of those big fun events, and then just beforehand, you always seem to get sick. Plan a big vacation, you always seem to get sick. You can't do it. What's behind that? Or there's this feeling of mistrust for the people that are maybe outside of your family. You might be the person who's always working to please others. You may struggle with never being able to say what you really need. You may be the person who quits the job before it's finished because you're sure you're not going to do it right, or it's not really worth it. But here's the question that we could ask ourselves in our homework is, what do I believe? What do I believe about life? What do I believe about my life? What do I believe about how the world works? What do I believe about how God works? And just see what might be resting in your subconscious that wants to come up to be looked at. And we're not doing this exercise to find out, oh my God, I'm such a failure at this, or shame ourselves or feel guilty because we've been holding negative beliefs in our consciousness. That's just metaphysical malpractice, which simply helps to contribute to the lower energy. So this is about starting a new health regimen. Up here on the screen, it's simple steps. The first one is to just notice your dominant energy. And you don't have to wait till you get sick to do this. As a matter of fact, if you want to be proactive about this, a wellness plan, it would be check in and see what your dominant energy has been lately. And then ask yourself how that energy got started in you. You know, if you find yourself feeling nervous and you just seems to be this subtle energy in the background of your day, see if you can work your way back to what the cause of that nervous energy is. Is it something that's going to come up in your life here soon and you're afraid about how you're going to be able to handle it? And then ask yourself, the third step is, what's my belief about that event that's coming up? You know, as I'm doing this, I'm realizing I've got something going on for me that just, I'll give you an example. So I've been invited to speak on a panel for the Parliament of World Religions, which comes up every year somewhere in the world. And some of you were here for the interfaith series that we did, right? Where we brought in different leaders from different faiths. And one of them was our friend, actually someone from our congregation, her father, Dr. Balwant Hansra. And he called me the other day and asked if I would be on this panel. And it's on, his faith is Sikh faith, S-I-K-H. And in the Sikh faith, they have a term called Chardi Kala, or Kala. See, I haven't even yet figured out what that is. So I'm nervous because I'm thinking, I don't even know what that term is, but I'm supposed to be speaking on it from a unity perspective. So I know I've got some work to do. But I just realized that instead of addressing it, instead of tapping into my higher self, I'm just like letting this subtle nervous energy hum in the back of me that says, I don't know how I'm going to do this. So that's the kind of thing that contributes to lowering your energy, right? And just takes your body and disconnects it from your higher self and your inherent wellness, which I don't want to have happen. So I got my work to do, right? You're not out there by yourself, you guys. The fourth step is asking yourself, what's the truth? What's the truth about this situation that I'm facing? The truth is, I've got resources. I just need to take the time to sit down and tap into those resources, not only, internet resources and people resources, but internal resources, divine mind resources, all kinds of support if I will just take the time to do it. So That's what we get to do. We get to notice the dominant energy. We get to work our way back to the cause of that energy. We get to ask ourselves what's my belief around that cause? And then I get to ask myself, what's the truth? And can I dwell in that truth? Unity had a correspondence school in the early 1900s, and they had some curriculum. And here's a comment from that curriculum on the screen. Appearances cannot be changed, except by going back into mind and correcting the thoughts that are making the error appearances. Analysis of our thoughts determines whether the beliefs back of them have their foundation in wholeness or whether they're based upon the limited concepts about life that have been built through ignorance of truth. We have to do our work in order to transform. And I want you to be aware, this is where you get to cut yourself some slack in all of this, is that we also participate in a collective consciousness where stuff is seeping into our subconscious without us even knowing. We all contribute to the collective consciousness, and the majority has the loudest voice in our subconscious, unless we can be aware and step outside the collective consciousness. Choose a higher consciousness. Subconscious mind, only take instruction from my higher self. We want to shift from the collective consciousness that's in a lot of fear and resistance right now, and we want to move into the unity consciousness. I'm not just talking about our spiritual movement that we are part of. Unity meaning one mind that is divine, that is whole and complete, that has all that we need within it. So it's a chance for us to, yes, engage in the human experience, because that's why our spirit came, to have these human experiences, but then to raise our vibration and our consciousness to a higher point of view, to unity consciousness, and realize what the true power is that is available to us and that wants to express through us. Leave the fear, the judgment, the resistance behind, and move into one of those points of view that you know Spirit is holding for you at any given moment, which is peace and compassion and allowing, wholeness, upliftment. It's available to us all the time if we would just give our attention to it. Just start by focusing on what you're grateful for. And I highly recommend you spend a lot of gratitude on your body. That's a great way to renew your health, is to give thanks for every part of your body. My body knows how to heal, and I gratefully allow it to do so. Do we have that up here on the screen, Cindy? Can we show that? Did I put it up there somewhere? My body knows how to heal, and I gratefully allow it to do so. Let's say that together. My body knows how to heal, and I gratefully allow it to do so. Remember, we don't have to make health or get health. We have to allow health. Let's take some time in meditation and see if we can't practice this a little bit. Just take a deep breath. Be kind to your body. Imagine that you're breathing in life. You're letting go of any resistance. Do that 2 or 3 times at your own pace. Breathe in life. Release resistance. Take a moment to just notice. Ask yourself, what has been my dominant feeling over the last week or so? What emotion has been following me. If it feels slow, heavy, unlike spirit, see if you can work your way back to where it started. Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's a situation around money. Maybe it's your health. Or a decision to be made. And notice what you believe. What kind of meaning have you given that situation or person? Does it feel like it has power over you? Does it feel like you're not enough to handle it? Do you believe that there's no answer? Or that life is just too unfair? What do I believe about this situation? And what is the truth? How does the mind and heart of God see this situation? This is the time to remember that Spirit does not fear anything. Spirit does not judge anything. The divine within us knows there is infinite wisdom here to work through this. The harmonizing power of love is calling forth your good. Divine life is always present to renew, to revitalize your being. And God's unlimited substance is everywhere present to fill every need. This is the truth of my being. This is what I choose to dwell on and give thanks for, knowing that all is well in my body, mind, emotions, and spirit. So it is, and now I let it be. Amen.
Wow. For most of that time, I forgot that there was anybody else here. I felt that Kitty was speaking so personally to me, so powerful. And I know that everybody heard this message in the way that resonates with your heart. Thank you. So we are entering the time in our service when we share in our tithes and our love offerings. And I thank you in advance for your support of this amazing spiritual community that brings us truth in this way. As you know, there are many ways in which you can offer your gifts to Unity. If you're watching online, just scroll down and look for the donation button. If you are here in the sanctuary, the ushers will be coming around. And as always, we are pleased to accept a check. If you'd like to write that out and put it in the mail, you will send that to Unity in Naperville, P.O. Box 9733, Naperville, Illinois, 60567. One of these days I'll memorize that, but it's not today. So please join me in speaking the blessing for our offering. The words are on the screen. Together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I am grateful. Thank you. Ushers.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
Blessed indeed. Thank you, highest good. So, time for some announcements, and we're going to run through these quickly so we can all get back outside into this beautiful weather. So, if you are joining us for the first time, whether online or here in person, and I can't actually really see, so if you're here for the first time, welcome. We're glad to have you here. We have an e-newsletter that comes out every Tuesday that will keep you up to date on all the things that are happening at Unity. So, in order to get connected with that, you can send an email to admin@unityinnaperville.org. We also have all of the information that's available on our website, which is unityinnaperville.org. So what's going on at Unity this week? Our event team is meeting Monday from 6:30 to 7:30. We love to hear your ideas. There's a lot of creativity out there about new events, new things, new happenings that we can create here at Unity. So please be a part of that. If you'd like to join the meeting, or if you just have an event idea but you can't come to the meeting, send your email to admin@unityinnaperville.org. Lunch Online has been going on for, a year and a half. Continues to meet Tuesday at noon. Come, bring your lunch. Don't bring your lunch. Meet new friends. Chat with your old friends. Stay for an hour. Stay for 5 minutes. It's a great way to stay connected. And thank you, God, for the technology to allow us to do that, especially during the time when things were really shut down and we had to connect only via computer. Courageous Writers is meeting Saturday at noon. As you remember, courageous is our word, which means creative and courageous, at 10. What did I say, at 9? Sorry. Oh, okay, 10 to noon. Sorry about that. See the website calendar or email, again, admin@Unity in Naperville for details. And as always, we have one-on-one prayer support available after the service. Send an email to prayer@unityinnaperville.org, and a prayer chaplain will respond by 1 p.m. Put your name, and don't forget your phone number. And as always, as I said, all of these event details and everything about Unity is available on our website. Okay, so Facebook. If you are not connected with Unity in Naperville on Facebook, it's a great way to stay in touch. We have a couple of groups. We have a My Unity Peeps group. It's a closed group, so you're invited. You asked to join, and of course you're invited to join. But we do that because it's a group for unity. It's an uplifting, loving, supportive group. It's a great way to just stay in touch with what's going on with all of your Unity peeps. We also have a group that's focused on healing. It's called My Healing Journey. Your Healing Journey, thank you. If you would like to read uplifting affirmations, spiritual quotations, healing posts, prayer support, that's a great way to stay connected. And also, Reverend Kitty is on Facebook, and if you're not friends with her, she's waiting. She's waiting. So this is a great way to be inspired, read more about her spiritual thoughts, find out more about what's going on in her life. And as you know, she occasionally in her sermons says, I put out this question and people responded with, and she does that on Facebook. So if you want to be a part of the sermons, if you want to be able to get your 2 cents in there, friend Kitty on Facebook. So that is all I have for today, and Reverend Kitty has something to say about the 12 Powers Club. Thank you all.
Thank you. If you were here last week, you heard us say that our 12 Powers Club website had a little glitch in it, but it's back up and ready to go. So if you're already a member of the website, I hope you'll come back and see what's new, because on the 1st and the 15th, we keep putting up new powers, and there's a lot of different resources available to you. I just wanted to, it works really well on your phone if you want to do that. But let me just give you an example of what is available to you if you haven't joined the 12 Powers Club yet. First of all, there's some podcasts about the specific powers. So this week I had a new one go up myself that you're welcome to listen to, and they're only about 10 minutes long. There's other ministers and speakers that are talking about the different 12 powers. So check out that. There's also a group that does the women of the Bible and how they might relate to one of the 12 powers. It's really fun. It's very different than what you're used to. There's some commentary on certain books that have been written that help you understand your 12 powers better. There's also a lot of good music coming out on the 12 Powers Club from a whole bunch of different people that you haven't gotten to hear yet. So I hope that you'll check this out and find out some original music and chanting that is being put up there that talk about our different powers. There's a kids' corner. One of our congregants, Jenna DeSandro, is doing stuff specifically for the younger kids to help them understand what our 12 powers is like. Yes, it's very fun. There's a place where our prayer chaplains are praying with you online according to our spiritual powers. Kim Char's got the songs that our own congregation worked to write a year ago or two, and they're coming out one at a time. Also, you guys can put your posts up there and just talk to each other about how the powers are working in your life. So it's a great way to educate yourself on the divine qualities that are inherent in you and that will have wonderful effects on your life if you learn how to understand them and begin to apply them in your life. This is a fundraiser for Unity. Not just our church, but if you're watching online and you belong to another Unity church, you're welcome to have your minister contact and become a member because it's also a fundraiser for those churches, and a portion of your membership fee goes to whichever church you choose in Unity to support. So our year is not over yet. We're still selling memberships. If you're not a member yet, I highly recommend and hope that you would choose to support Unity in this way and just see what's waiting for you out there. If you just go to 12 Powers Club with either the number or the word, 12powersclub.com, you will see a ton of things for you to be involved in, and it's also a great way to connect with each other. We also have a private Facebook group, so there's a lot going on with this, and it's your way this year to give a little extra to your Unity community so that we can keep doing what we're doing. So thank you for that. I also just want to mention, after the service today, I would like to take your questions about what I talked about today or about healing in general. So we're going to have a slide up here yet before the end of the service with my text number, 630-740-1656. So if you're watching online live today, send a text, or you guys stay here and ask me your questions here in the room. But before we do that, let's sing one more song. Okay, Kevin?
All right.
Thanks.
We let it be. We let it wash over us. We let it be. We let the love wash over us. We let it be. Joy, we let the joy wash over us. We let it be. We let the joy wash over us. We let it be. Peace, we let the peace wash over us. We let it be. We let the peace wash over us. We let it be. Love, we let the love wash over us. We let it be. We let the love wash over us. We let it be.
Yeah, that's a perfect song. A perfect song for what we talked about today, how we can get in that state of consciousness. Just let it wash over you. Choose a divine idea, let it wash over you. Let's finish with our closing affirmation up here on the screen. Together, my body knows how to heal, and I gratefully allow it to do so. If you'd like to stay and ask questions about today, have a seat. If you need to leave, I love you guys. I'll be out there in a little bit if you want to hang out. If you're watching online and you have a question for me now, send me a text. The number's up here on the screen, 630-740-1656. You guys got questions? I got answers. Just kidding. You're good? Have a great day, everybody. I'm hanging out for the texting people if they want to send me something. 630-740-1656. I might be able to see you on Facebook. Take a look-see. I can't even find our Facebook page. Come on, you can do it. Okay, the only thing I have to say, somebody made a comment on Facebook, how important it is to not blame ourselves for what we didn't know before. We're growing into our higher selves. And I can't, you know what's weird is that my phone talks even when I got it on mute. But just a reminder to be kind to yourself in this exploratory process because, again, getting into blame and shame is just a way to bring down the energy and disconnect yourself even more from your health guide, which is your higher self. So subconscious mind, only take instruction from my higher self. I love and accept myself as I am, and I'm open to growth. I know my body knows how to heal, and I gratefully allow it to do so. Okay, I think that's it. I'm not getting any texts. I'm not seeing any other comments in Facebook. So thanks for making time for us today, and we look forward to seeing you next week when we're going to keep this series going. Love you guys. Bless you.